Hello, happy, beautiful, powerful people, and welcome to the Everybody's Running podcast, our first episode. Hey, my name is Ruby A. Jackson, and I'm what you would call a multi-hyphenate person. I have a passion for sports, arts, sciences, and I'm so happy to host this podcast. So more about me. Currently, I say currently because we're always evolving. I'm a former elite track and field athlete, a Christian, a STEM and sports advocate. I want to help create a world where women in STEM and sports are valued. But before I get way off topic, because this cast is for track and field athletes. So let me explain my goals for the first episode. Like any intro episode, this will be short. My goal is to share with you what you can expect from the podcast, what it is, what it's not, and how often I'll be posting episodes. But first, I want to share a few stories that will help illustrate what I hope to do in this podcast. I remember the first time I ran one of my biggest races, Penn Relays 4x8. There were tens of thousands of cheering fans at Franklin Field. Good weather, and anyone who's run at Penn's knows that was a blessing. I was a ball of nerves. We were running the High School Championship of America, and there were top runners from every country. The closer we moved through the paddocks towards the starting line, the more nervous I got. I'd run at Penn Relays before, but the nerves are there every time. And we were trying to do something our team had never done before, become the first American team to cross the finish line. I say first American team because everybody knew that the Jamaicans had this relay on lock. As we got closer to the finish line, what grounded me and calmed me were my coach's words. He said, "I don't care what their times look like on paper. Every time a competitor comes against you, they have to step on the line and prove themselves." I didn't know it then, but he was teaching us about sport and life. I remember the first time I got to college. On paper, I was a top recruit, state champion, straight A student. I didn't get in trouble. Every parent's dream. I had dreams of becoming an Olympian and a doctor. Those two dreams weren't easy to achieve together. And I actually wasn't even sure if one of them was even mine. In track, we run all of our races in lanes. But college was proving that running in life is much different. There are no straight lines to keep you in your lane. And the rules are pretty unclear. You can't tell the start from the finish sometimes. I struggled in college. I failed to do what my high school coach taught me, not just look good on paper. In college, I was all conference, got straight A's. I was every coach's dream. But I was secretly hurting and dealing with trauma, uncertainty, identity issues, and so much more. I looked good on paper and proved myself for a long time on the track and in the classroom. Until one day, all of the things I was dealing with caused me to self-destruct. As I look back on that time then, I wish I knew where to turn. I wish there were stories like mine that I could lean on. First generation college student, low income, drug-addicted parent who died of AIDS, struggling from injuries, and getting a degree to become a doctor when I didn't even like blood. But somehow, I still made it. And for me, God began to illuminate how his hand was working in everything. Everybody's Running podcast is to share those stories, to tell the stories of triumph, of trial, and transcendence, to show how faith and sport intertwine, to provide a resource that I didn't have when I was in your shoes years ago, to show you that in spite of how we strive to show up in life the way we look on paper, we still have the victory. You can expect Everybody's Running podcast to feature weekly audio and hopefully visual podcasts that share faith-driven conversations with current and former track and field athletes. We'll focus on more than just the physical aspects of sport, the mental and the spiritual. So I guess you can say this is a wellness podcast for athletes. This is an Olympic year, so we'll get to cover some cool current events, share race stories from field athletes and track athletes. That's right, I said it. The field team needs some love too. There's some incredible track and field athletes. I'm so excited to host and bring this resource to you. And I hope that with every episode you hear, something that inspires you to run well in life, sport, and beyond. Thank you for tuning in.